The mysterious signal. The warning lights in Marcus Rivera's maintenance pod flashed an angry red, casting eerie shadows across his weathered face. He'd been tracking the strange signal for 3 days now, watching it grow stronger as it penetrated deeper into human space. The signal wasn't like anything he'd encountered in his 15 years manning Deep Space Maintenance Station 84, which made it either fascinating or terrifying. In his experience, those usually turned out to be the same thing. "Computer, analyze signal pattern again," Marcus commanded, his fingers dancing across the holographic interface. The station's AI responded with a soft chime, projecting a complex waveform into the air before him. The pattern pulsed with an otherworldly rhythm, like a heartbeat from the stars themselves. "Signal contains no known human or registered alien frequencies," the computer reported. "Pattern suggests artificial origin. Warning, station power reserves at 47% and declining." Marcus rubbed his temples, feeling the familiar ache of too many sleepless nights. The station's quantum core, the revolutionary power source that kept this distant outpost running, had been deteriorating for months. He'd already cannibalized most of the backup systems to keep it functioning, but without a replacement, DSMS-84 would go dark within weeks. The nearest supply ship was 4 months out, assuming the bureaucrats even approved his requisition this time. The signal pulsed again, stronger this time. Marcus leaned forward, squinting at the readout. There was something almost desperate about its rhythm, like a cry for help. He'd heard plenty of distress calls over the years. The void of space had a way of breaking even the most reliable equipment, but this was different. This felt important. "Computer, prepare maintenance pod for departure. Plot intercept course with signal source. Warning, departure will accelerate power consumption by 32%. Station reserves will reach critical levels within 72 hours. Noted, Marcus replied, already pulling on his pressure suit. Sometimes you have to roll the dice. The maintenance pod detached from the station with a gentle shudder. Marcus guided it through the star-studded darkness, following the mysterious signal like a modern-day sailor chasing a siren's song. After 2 hours of careful navigation, he saw it, a vessel unlike anything in human records. The ship was organic in design, its hull flowing in curves that seemed to defy traditional engineering. It was small, perhaps a quarter the size of his maintenance pod, and its surface rippled with faint bioluminescent patterns. But what caught Marcus's attention was the massive rupture along its side, exposing delicate internal systems to the merciless vacuum of space. As he maneuvered closer, movement caught his eye. Behind what appeared to be a transparent section of hull, a figure floated in a crystalline chamber. They were humanoid but clearly alien, tall and slender, with silvery skin that seemed to shimmer with its own inner light. Their eyes were closed, but Marcus could see their chest rising and falling slowly. They were alive, but for how long? The pod sensors indicated the alien vessel was running on emergency power, its life support systems barely functioning. Without intervention, they would fail within hours. Marcus ran a quick scan of the damage, and his heart sank. The ship's power core was completely dead, and its design was far too alien for any conventional repairs. But there was one possibility. The quantum core from his station would be compatible. The underlying principles of quantum energy were universal, after all. With some modifications, he could save the alien's life. The cost would be his station, his career, and possibly his own life if rescue didn't arrive in time. "Computer, begin docking procedures," Marcus ordered, his voice steady despite the weight of the decision before him. The maintenance pod's manipulator arms extended, gently securing the alien vessel. As he worked to establish a pressure seal between the vessels, Marcus thought about all the regulations he was breaking. First contact protocols alone would earn him a court-martial. But staring at the unconscious alien, seeing their chest rise and fall in that fragile rhythm, he knew he couldn't just let them die. The seal indicator turned green, and Marcus began the delicate process of boarding the alien ship. As he crossed the threshold, the bioluminescent patterns on the hull pulsed brighter, as if the ship itself was acknowledging his presence. The alien's crystalline chamber hummed with a faint resonance that he felt in his bones. "Well," Marcus muttered, pulling out his tool kit, "let's hope the universe has a way of paying back good deeds." He had no way of knowing then just how prophetic those words would prove to be. The alien's eyes snapped open as Marcus finished connecting the quantum core to their ship's systems. They were mesmerizing, swirling pools of silver and violet that seemed to contain entire nebulae. For a moment, neither of them moved, each studying the other with equal parts fascination and wariness. The crystalline chamber hummed, then dissolved like morning dew, leaving the alien standing before him. They were even taller up close, easily 7 feet, with silvery skin that rippled like liquid mercury in the pod's harsh lighting. "You risked yourself to save me," they said, their voice resonating in Marcus's mind rather than his ears. "Why?" Marcus shrugged, trying to hide his amazement at the telepathic communication. "Seemed like the right thing to do. I'm Marcus Rivera, by the way. Deep Space Maintenance Station 84. Well, former station engineer, I suppose." "I am Nyara," the alien replied, touching their chest with long, elegant fingers. "Last guardian of the stellar archives of the Kthiri." Their expression shifted to something Marcus interpreted as concern. "You sacrificed your power source for me. Your station will go dark in about 60 hours, Marcus finished, checking his tablet. "But hey, maybe someone will answer my distress calls before then." He attempted a smile, though it felt weak even to him. Nyara moved to one of the organic-looking control panels of their ship, which now pulsed with the energy from Marcus's quantum core. "My people, we are dying, Marcus Rivera. A quantum plague corrupts our biological technology, turning our own advancements against us. I was searching for a cure when my ship was damaged by a spatial anomaly." The alien's fingers danced across the panel, bringing up holographic displays filled with complex data. Marcus watched in fascination as the symbols shifted and flowed like living things. "The archives contain the combined knowledge of 1,000 generations of Kthiri science and culture," Nyara continued. "If they are lost, my people will have no hope of finding a cure. Your quantum core may have saved more than just my life." Before Marcus could respond, his tablet chimed urgently. "Warning," the station's computer announced. "Unknown vessels approaching DSMS 84. Energy signatures match registered salvage operations. Estimated arrival, 47 hours." Marcus felt his stomach drop. "Scavengers. They must have detected your signal too." He ran a hand through his graying hair. "They'll strip my station bare, and if they find us, they would take your technology." "Your core?" Nyara asked, their silver eyes darkening with concern. "That's the least of what they'd do," Marcus replied grimly. "First contact with a new species. They'd probably try to capture you, sell you to the highest bidder. The outer colonies aren't exactly known for their ethics." The alien was quiet for a moment, their skin shifting through subtle patterns of light. "Then we must protect your station. The Kthiri owe you a debt, Marcus Rivera, and we do not abandon our debts. With all due respect, Nyara, your ship barely has enough power to maintain life support. We're in no position to fight off a salvage crew." Nyara's lips curved in what might have been a smile. "Perhaps. But the archives contain more than just medical knowledge. Before the plague, the Kthiri were master engineers. With your understanding of human technology and my people's innovations, we might find a solution." Marcus glanced at his tablet, watching the station's power levels continue their steady decline. The salvage ships would arrive just as the station went dark, perfect timing for them to swoop in and claim it as abandoned property. Everything he'd worked for, everything he'd built over 15 years, would be lost. But looking at Nyara, seeing the determination in those alien eyes, he felt something he hadn't experienced in years: hope. "All right," he said, pulling up the station's schematics. "Let's see what we can do with Kthiri engineering and human stubbornness." As they began working, Marcus noticed something strange. Where the quantum core interfaced with Nyara's ship, the bioluminescent patterns had changed. They seemed stronger, more organized, as if the combination of technologies was creating something new. Nyara, he asked, is it supposed to do that? The alien studied the patterns, their eyes widening. Fascinating. The quantum resonance from your core, it's not just powering our systems. It's recoding them. Adapting. They turned to Marcus with an expression of wonder. Your technology may have just shown us the key to fighting the plague. Before Marcus could process the implications of that statement, a new alarm blared. The salvage ships had increased speed. They would arrive in 36 hours, not 47. Time was running out, and they had to make a choice: try to save the station, or focus on finding a cure that could save an entire civilization. As Marcus looked between his tablet and the alien he'd risked everything to save, he knew that whatever they decided, nothing in human space would ever be the same again. The warning lights in Marcus Rivera's maintenance pod flashed an angry red, casting eerie shadows across his weathered face. He'd been tracking the strange signal for 3 days now, watching it grow stronger as it penetrated deeper into human space. The signal wasn't like anything he'd encountered in his 15 years manning Deep Space Maintenance Station 84, which made it either fascinating or terrifying. In his experience, those usually turned out to be the same thing. Computer, analyze signal pattern again, Marcus commanded, his fingers dancing across the holographic interface. The station's AI responded with a soft chime, projecting a complex waveform into the air before him. The pattern pulsed with an otherworldly rhythm, like a heartbeat from the stars themselves. Signal contains no known human or registered alien frequencies, the computer reported. Pattern suggests artificial origin. Warning, station power reserves at 47% and declining. Marcus rubbed his temples, feeling the familiar ache of too many sleepless nights. The station's quantum core, the revolutionary power source that kept this distant outpost running, had been deteriorating for months. He'd already cannibalized most of the backup systems to keep it functioning, but without a replacement, DSMS-84 would go dark within weeks. The nearest supply ship was 4 months out, assuming the bureaucrats even approved his requisition this time. The signal pulsed again, stronger this time. Marcus leaned forward, squinting at the readout. There was something almost desperate about its rhythm, like a cry for help. He'd heard plenty of distress calls over the years. The void of space had a way of breaking even the most reliable equipment, but this was different. This felt important. Computer, prepare maintenance pod for departure. Plot intercept course with signal source. Warning, departure will accelerate power consumption by 32%. Station reserves will reach critical levels within 72 hours. Noted, Marcus replied, already pulling on his pressure suit. Sometimes you have to roll the dice. The maintenance pod detached from the station with a gentle shudder. Marcus guided it through the star-studded darkness, following the mysterious signal like a modern-day sailor chasing a siren's song. After 2 hours of careful navigation, he saw it, a vessel unlike anything in human records. The ship was organic in design, its hull flowing in curves that seemed to defy traditional engineering. It was small, perhaps a quarter the size of his maintenance pod, and its surface rippled with faint bioluminescent patterns. But what caught Marcus's attention was the massive rupture along its side, exposing delicate internal systems to the merciless vacuum of space. As he maneuvered closer, movement caught his eye. Behind what appeared to be a transparent section of hull, a figure floated in a crystalline chamber. They were humanoid but clearly alien, tall and slender, with silvery skin that seemed to shimmer with its own inner light. Their eyes were closed, but Marcus could see their chest rising and falling slowly. They were alive, but for how long? The pod sensors indicated the alien vessel was running on emergency power, its life support systems barely functioning. Without intervention, they would fail within hours. Marcus ran a quick scan of the damage, and his heart sank. The ship's power core was completely dead, and its design was far too alien for any conventional repairs. But there was one possibility. The quantum core from his station would be compatible. The underlying principles of quantum energy were universal, after all. With some modifications, he could save the alien's life. The cost would be his station, his career, and possibly his own life if rescue didn't arrive in time. "Computer, begin docking procedures," Marcus ordered, his voice steady despite the weight of the decision before him. The maintenance pod's manipulator arms extended, gently securing the alien vessel. As he worked to establish a pressure seal between the vessels, Marcus thought about all the regulations he was breaking. First contact protocols alone would earn him a court-martial. But staring at the unconscious alien, seeing their chest rise and fall in that fragile rhythm, he knew he couldn't just let them die. The seal indicator turned green, and Marcus began the delicate process of boarding the alien ship. As he crossed the threshold, the bioluminescent patterns on the hull pulsed brighter, as if the ship itself was acknowledging his presence. The alien's crystalline chamber hummed with a faint resonance that he felt in his bones. The maintenance pod's interior had never felt so cramped. Marcus watched as Nyara's long fingers manipulated the holographic controls of their ship's systems, creating patterns of light that danced and shifted like living things. The quantum core's energy pulsed through the alien vessel's circuitry, creating an ethereal light show that would have been beautiful if they weren't racing against time. "The resonance patterns are stabilizing," Nyara announced, their telepathic voice tinged with excitement. "Your quantum core's interaction with our biocircuits is unprecedented. It's not just powering them, it's healing them." Marcus leaned closer to the displays, trying to make sense of the alien data streams. After 20 hours of non-stop work, his eyes were burning, but they couldn't afford to rest. "Can we replicate the effect? Make it stronger?" "Perhaps." Nyara's silvery skin rippled with thoughtful patterns. "But we would need more power. Much more." The tablet on Marcus's hip chimed again, another warning about the station's failing systems. They'd rerouted everything they could, shut down all non-essential functions, but DSMS-84 was still dying. And the salvage ships were now only 16 hours away. "What about the station's auxiliary reactors?" Marcus suggested, pulling up the schematics. "They're not quantum tech, just standard fusion cores, but..." A new alarm cut through the pod, this one sharp and urgent. Marcus's tablet screen flashed red, displaying a cascade of emergency warnings. "No," he breathed, reading the data. "No, no, no. What is it?" Nyara moved to his side, their height causing them to bend almost double in the confined space. The station's main computer detected the salvage ship's changing course. "They're not heading for the station anymore." He looked up at his alien companion, his expression grim. "They're coming straight for us." Nyara's eyes darkened to a stormy purple. They must have detected the quantum core's energy signature. Worse. Marcus showed them the scan results. "They're picking up your ship's biological readings. Someone on those crews is smart enough to realize what they've found." He ran a hand through his hair, a nervous habit from childhood. "A functioning quantum core is valuable, but a new alien species? That's worth a fortune to the right buyers." The alien was quiet for a moment, their skin shifting through patterns that Marcus had learned to recognize as deep concern. "How many are coming?" 3 ships. Heavy salvage vessels, probably armed. Marcus brought up their tactical display, showing the approaching vessels' trajectories. Standard procedure would be to disable their targets with EMP charges, then send in boarding teams. They would dare to attempt capture. Out here. There's no one to stop them. The Colonial Defense Force doesn't patrol this far out, and even if they did. Marcus shrugged. First contact protocols are more like guidelines in the outer reaches. Nyara straightened as much as the pod's ceiling would allow, their eyes taking on a determined gleam. Then we must ensure they do not succeed. The archives cannot fall into such hands. And they hesitated, their next words softer in Marcus's mind. I will not allow them to harm the one who saved my life. Marcus was about to respond when something on one of Nyara's displays caught his eye. The interface where the quantum core connected to the Kthiri ship systems was showing new patterns, complex geometries that seemed to shift between dimensions. Nyara, he said slowly, what exactly is stored in those archives of yours? The alien followed his gaze, their expression changing to one of surprise. The collected knowledge of my people. Science, culture, history. Their eyes widened as they understood what Marcus was seeing. Including our weapons technology. Before the plague, Marcus said, his mind racing with possibilities, you mentioned the Kthiri were master engineers. What kind of defenses did your ships have? We were peaceful, but not defenseless. Nyara's fingers began moving across the controls with renewed purpose. Our ships could generate quantum fields capable of redirecting energy, displacing matter, even bending space itself on a local scale. Marcus felt a smile tugging at his lips, the kind of smile that had gotten him into trouble all his life. And with my quantum core powering your systems, we could adapt those defenses. Nyara's skin rippled with excited patterns. But Marcus, the power requirements would be enormous. We would need to channel everything through the core, your station would lose all power immediately. The station's dying anyway, Marcus replied, already beginning to modify the power connections. Better to go out fighting than let those vultures strip it bare. He paused, looking up at his alien friend. But Nyara, if this doesn't work, if we can't hold them off. The alien placed one of their long-fingered hands on his shoulder. The touch sent a strange tingling sensation through his body, like static electricity but somehow warm, comforting. Then we face our fate together, Marcus Rivera. As friends. They worked frantically for the next hour, combining human ingenuity with Kthiri technology in ways neither species had ever attempted. The quantum core's light grew brighter, its energy interweaving with the alien ship's living circuits in increasingly complex patterns. On Marcus's tablet, the station's power levels plummeted. The salvage ships were now just 6 hours away, and what happened next would determine not just their fate, but potentially the future of human-Kthiri relations. As Marcus made the final connections, he found himself hoping that the universe really did have a way of repaying good deeds. The first salvage ship dropped out of FTL drive in a flash of distorted space, its hull bristling with makeshift weapons and scanning arrays. Marcus watched it approach on the pod's display, his hands steady on the controls despite the fear churning in his stomach. The vessel was easily 20 times the size of his maintenance pod, a converted mining ship built for cracking open derelict space stations and stripped-down freighters. Incoming transmission, his tablet announced. The voice that came through the speakers was rough, confident, someone used to taking what they wanted. Maintenance Pod Delta, 84, this is the salvage vessel Iron Vulture. Our scans indicate you're harboring unknown biological technology. Stand down and prepare for boarding, or we'll be forced to take aggressive action. Nyara's skin pulsed with patterns that Marcus had learned to recognize as anger. The alien stood behind him, their tall frame bent to avoid the pod's low ceiling, silver eyes fixed on the approaching ship. They're powering up their EMP systems, Marcus noted, watching the energy reading spike. 2 more ships dropping out of FTL, they're trying to box us in. Are you certain about this plan? Nyara's telepathic voice carried notes of concern. The power requirements could destroy your quantum core completely. Even if we succeed, we're out of options. Marcus's fingers flew across the controls, making final adjustments to their jerry-rigged defense system. Besides, I always wanted to go out with a bang. The salvage ship captain's voice crackled through again, this is your final warning. Stand down or... Marcus cut the transmission. Ready? Nyara placed their long-fingered hands on the bioorganic interface of their ship, where it had been integrated with Marcus's human technology. The Archive's defense protocols are primed. But Marcus, there's something you should know. Another alarm blared, the salvage ships were charging weapons. Time was up. Tell me later, Marcus said, and activated their makeshift defense system. The quantum core's energy surged through the hybrid human K-theory technology. The effect was immediate and spectacular. A field of shimmering energy erupted around them, rippling with patterns that hurt Marcus's eyes to look at directly. The salvage ship's first volley of EMP charges dissipated harmlessly against it. By the void, Marcus whispered, watching the energy readings. It's actually working. The quantum resonance is exceeding expected parameters, Nyara reported, their skin glowing with intense patterns. The fusion of our technologies, it's creating something new. Something unprecedented. The salvage ships launched a second attack, this time with conventional weapons. Missiles and energy beams splashed against their quantum shield, each impact causing new patterns to form in the energy field. But Marcus noticed something else, each hit made the patterns in Nyara's ship grow stronger, more organized. Nyara, he said slowly, what's happening to your ship's biocircuits? The alien's eyes widened in surprise. Impossible, the quantum field isn't just defending us. It's healing the plague-damaged systems. The combination of technologies, the specific energy frequency. A massive impact rocked the pod. The largest salvage ship had moved into position above them, deploying some kind of gravity weapon. Their shield held, but Marcus's tablet showed the quantum core's energy levels dropping rapidly. We've got maybe 10 minutes before the core burns out, he announced. But Nyara, if this field can heal your ship's systems, it could potentially cure the entire K-theory civilization. Nyara's mental voice was filled with wonder. But we would need far more power, and a way to broadcast the quantum frequency across vast distances. Marcus looked at his tablet, then at the 3 salvage ships surrounding them, and finally at his dying station in the distance. A crazy idea began to form. What if we used the station's communication array? It's designed to broadcast across several sectors. If we modified it, linked it to your archives. The power requirements would be enormous, Nyara protested. It would overload the quantum core instantly. And with these ships attacking, another impact shook them. 8 minutes of power remaining. Those ships are powered by standard fusion cores, Marcus said, his voice taking on the calm tone of someone who had made an impossible decision. If we could get back to the station, rig the quantum core to overload in just the right way. Understanding dawned in Nyara's silver eyes. The energy release would disable their ships. And if we time it right, channel it through the station's array combined with your archive's data. Marcus met the alien's gaze. One big burst. Enough power to broadcast the cure across half the sector. The station would be destroyed, Nyara said softly. Along with everything in it. Including. I know. Marcus checked their shield status. 7 minutes of power. But it's not just about us anymore, is it? Your people, my station, these scavengers, sometimes you have to risk everything to change things. Nyara was quiet for a moment, their skin shifting through complex patterns of light and shadow. Then they straightened, touching the pod's controls with renewed purpose. My people have a saying, they transmitted. The universe remembers acts of sacrifice. Marcus smiled, plotting a course back to his station. Let's hope it's got a good memory then. As they prepared for their desperate gambit, the salvage ships closed in, unaware that they were about to witness something unprecedented in human space, a moment where the combined ingenuity of 2 species would change the course of both their civilizations forever. Deep Space Maintenance Station 84 loomed before them, its dark bulk silhouetted against the star-filled void. Most of its external lights were dead now, power diverted to their shields, making it look like an abandoned ghost ship. The 3 salvage vessels followed close behind, their weapons continuing their relentless assault against the quantum shield. For minutes of power remaining, Marcus announced, guiding their joined vessels toward the station's main docking port. How long will you need to interface with the communication array? Nyara's fingers danced across their bioorganic controls, their silver skin pulsing with rapid patterns. 3 minutes to integrate the archive's data with your broadcast systems. But Marcus. They hesitated. There may be another way. My people would understand if. No, Marcus said firmly, initiating docking procedures. We're not letting your civilization die. Not when we can save it. He managed a smile. Besides, 15 years is a long time to spend alone in space. Maybe it's time for a career change. The docking clamps engaged with a shudder. Behind them, the salvage ships were moving into position, preparing for what they probably assumed would be their final attack. They had no idea they were about to become part of something much bigger than a simple salvage operation. Quantum shield failing, Marcus's tablet warned. 3 minutes of power remaining. They rushed through the airlock, Nyara having to bend almost double to fit through the human-sized corridors. The station's interior was dark, emergency lighting casting everything in a red glow. Their footsteps echoed through empty hallways that had been Marcus's home for so many years. The communication center was near the heart of the station, surrounded by the massive servers and transmission equipment that kept this section of space connected to civilization. As they worked to integrate their systems, Marcus couldn't help but appreciate the irony. This station, built to help humans reach further into space, would now help bridge the gap between species in a way its designers never imagined. 2 minutes, his tablet announced. Nyara's hands moved with incredible speed, weaving connections between their technologies that shouldn't have been possible. The archive's data flowed through human circuits, creating new pathways, new possibilities. The quantum core's energy signature began to change, harmonizing with the Kthiri biotechnology in ways that made the air itself seem to hum. The whole station shook. The salvage ships had locked on with grappling beams, preparing to board. 1 minute until complete power failure. Marcus made the final connections, routing every last bit of power through the quantum core. The energy readings were off the scale now, the core glowing with an intensity that made it painful to look at directly. It's ready, Nyara announced, their mental voice tight with emotion. But Marcus, the energy discharge, there's no way to contain it. The blast will. I know. He checked the readings one last time. But it'll work, right? The cure will reach your people. Yes. The quantum resonance will propagate through subspace, carrying the healing frequency to every Kthiri vessel and settlement within 50 light-years. Their silver eyes met his. You will be remembered, Marcus Rivera. For all time, in the archives of my people. The station shook again. The salvage teams had cut through the outer doors. 30 seconds to complete power failure. Marcus took one last look around the station that had been his home, his responsibility, his life for so long. Then he turned to the alien he'd given it all up to save. Better get to your ship, he said quietly. Once I initiate the overload, you'll have about 20 seconds to clear the blast radius. Marcus. Nyara's skin rippled with patterns he recognized as grief. Come with me. There's room. Someone has to stay to make sure the sequence completes. He smiled, and this time it felt genuine. Besides, I started this. I should see it through. The alien stood silent for a moment, then reached out and touched his forehead with their long fingers. A sensation like liquid starlight flowed through Marcus's mind, memories, emotions, gratitude too deep for words. The universe remembers, they said simply, then turned and moved with surprising speed back toward their ship. 10 seconds to power failure. Marcus waited until he heard the distant sound of Nyara's ship detaching, then began the final sequence. The quantum core's light grew blinding, its energy merging with the station's systems in ways that defied physics. As the salvage team burst through the last door, they found Marcus Rivera standing calmly at his controls, bathed in impossible light. The universe remembers, he whispered, and pressed the final command. The explosion was visible from 3 sectors away, a burst of quantum energy that rippled through space like a stone dropped in a cosmic pond. The salvage ships, caught in the blast, went dark instantly, their crews surviving but their systems completely fried. And through it all, riding the wave of energy, the Kthiri cure spread across the stars. 6 months later, on a rebuilt Deep Space Maintenance Station 84, now jointly operated by humans and Kthiri, a new plaque was installed in the main corridor. It showed 2 figures, one human, one alien, standing together against a field of stars. Below it, in both human and Kthiri script, were the words. In memory of Marcus Rivera, who gave everything to save those he had never met. The universe remembered. But that wasn't the end of the story. Because 3 days after the explosion, as rescue ships combed through the debris field, they found something impossible, a maintenance pod, its hull somehow intact, carrying a single unconscious but very much alive human. When asked later how he survived, Marcus would only smile and point to the Kthiri technology now integrated into the pod systems. The universe remembers, he would say. Sometimes it even pays back. And so began a new chapter in human history, where the sacrifice of one station engineer opened the door to a friendship between species that would change the galaxy forever. Because in the end, it wasn't about technology or cures or even survival, it was about the simple choice to help someone in need, and the ripples that one act of kindness could create across the cosmos.